it's so nice to do this again. The first time we had our video, I was a little bit nervous because I never did a collaboration video with someone who I hold in such high esteem, who's in another country and speaks another language. But it was a great time and people loved what we did. So I'm ready for our second YouTube collaboration. So thanks for agreeing to do this with me.
Great. Bueno, amigos, hola, ¿cómo están todos? Vamos a hacer una segunda parte. ¿Se acuerdan de esa entrevista que hicimos antes con Rossenberg sobre, bueno, sobre su libro del síndrome del imán humano? Si no vieron ese capítulo, lo pueden ver acá. Bueno, ahora vamos a ahondar más en el tema de observa, no absorbas, que ya lo hemos publicado también con anterioridad aquí en el canal y mucha gente tiene como dudas de cómo funciona exactamente esta técnica. Pues bueno, hoy lo vamos a aprender, Ross nos va a contar esto y por eso estamos haciendo este capítulo. ¿Qué es la técnica de observa, no absorbas?
Well, the observe, don't absorb technique came from my own experience of trying to manage the insanity of a person that has borderline personality disorder. She had all the power over me if I got mad at her. When she would antagonize me and I would react, I lost my composure. I lost my ability to be rational. And it seemed that every time I got into an argument with her or tried to defend myself, I always ended up where I was in a worse place than where I began. So something kind of happened where I came up with this idea that I have to figure out a way to not let her get into me, not let her make me upset, not let her antagonize me. And it just kind of happened. I came up with this term, observe, don't absorb. I am going to observe someone trying to get me mad and not let them make me mad. Because if I got mad, I am absorbing her toxins. Like a person who is poisoned. If they swallow the poison, they will get sick. But what happens if they don't take the poison? Then they're safe. So observe, don't absorb really is a simplistic term that keeps a person from following the manipulative lead of a narcissist who wants to get you angry, wants to get you upset so they can control and dominate you.
Exacto. So, ¿qué se necesita para aplicar la técnica? O sea, ¿qué es lo que tienes que hacer?
When I first started writing about the observe, don't absorb technique, I taught people how to apply it. And I'm going to answer that in a second. But after a few years of teaching people how to apply the technique, what to do and what not to do, I came to understand that if they didn't know about the narcissist and know about their unique psychopathology, their unique mental illness, and didn't know how and why they manipulated people, then they were more susceptible to falling victim to the manipulation. So for the observe, don't absorb technique to work, you have to be able to predict the narcissist and what she or he will do. I call this predictive awareness. Mm-hmm. When you, and part of that is understanding what is their actual diagnosis. Do they have narcissistic personality disorder? Do they have borderline personality disorder? Or do they have antisocial personality disorder? And what is the subcategory? For example, if someone is a covert narcissist, they have narcissistic personality disorder, and that is a subcategory. When you understand what a covert narcissist is, and you understand how they achieve control over you, and you understand how your partner can antagonize you in order to be upset so they can control you, that's the heart and the soul of observe, don't absorb.
¿Cómo precisamente aplicas eso?
To apply the observe, don't absorb technique, again, you have to predict and understand your nemesis, the person that has a vested interest in trying to involve you in a fight. Once you understand this, and to me, this saying by George Bernard Shaw is the most important and yet funny saying. Never wrestle with the pig. You'll always get dirty. And besides, the pig loves it. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that you don't want to fight with someone who is a better fighter than you are, who fights dirty, and who knows your weaknesses. So the best beginning explanation of the observe, don't absorb technique is to avoid the fight.
Okay.
And so I think of it as a wrestling ring and the pig. The pig wants you in the wrestling ring to get mm-hmm. dirty. And so to be able to recognize that you lose all your power in the wrestling ring. Any questions on that before I move on to other specific techniques?
No, está bien, it's okay. But, well, I have this question of, I think this technique would work with any toxic person.
Yes.
Bueno, él mencionaba que a veces hay que estar como seguros de que esta persona tiene como pues una sociopatía o una borderline o un problema de sociabilidad, pero a veces pues, nosotros no podemos contar con ese diagnóstico. Entonces, pues realmente esta técnica le preguntaba si realmente se puede aplicar para toda la gente tóxica y bueno, la respuesta es que sí, ¿no?
That was a great point, and I'm glad you brought that up. As useful as ODA, which is the acronym for observe, don't absorb, is, as useful as ODA is for these pathological narcissists, it has definite application for difficult people in general. And not everyone fits into these diagnostic categories. Not everyone is psychologically disturbed.
Mm-hmm. How do you propose to use this technique? ¿Cómo propones usar esta técnica?
The technique is, in its most simplest explanation, is to tell yourself, I am going to disassociate. I am not going to feel. See, because disassociation really, for most people, is a psychological problem. But when we control the disassociation and we say to ourselves, I am going to remove my feelings from this moment. I'm just going to observe. What you are doing is you are gaining power and control over a dangerous situation. You become the observer. You watch the person try to hurt you. When you take that disassociated observing position and you are conscious about, I'm going to watch this person try to upset me, then you are seeing them in a different light. You are not seeing them as a reactive person. You're not seeing them as a victim, not seeing them as a weak person, but you're seeing them in strength from someone who can watch them. Mm-hmm. It seems simple, but once you can watch a person outside of your emotions, because you can always go back to your emotions. That's why this is healthy, not mentally unhealthy. That gives you all the strength and the power, and you're able to see things that you would not have been able to see.
Exacto. Yo muchas veces les digo, este tema que él está mencionando ahora, que creo que es muy importante, que a veces, sobre todo con los narcisistas, o sea, no te tienes que portar ni como víctima ni como amenaza. Esta parte que uno puede como desaprenderse de esta agresividad y verla, como él dice, desde afuera, como observándola desde afuera, sin tomártela personal, ¿no? Y es algo bien importante que tienen que entender y que lo hemos remarcado ya en muchos videos, este tema de no conectar con la porquería que te da el narcisista. O sea, no estar conectando con esa, como él dice ahorita el ejemplo del puerquito, ¿no? No conectes con eso, o sea, no te metas al chiquero, no te metas al revolcadero. So, how precisely you apply this?
Okay, so what I just explained is how to observe. But let me tell you a little bit about how not to absorb, because once you let those toxins in, once you get activated, and that's a psychological term I use, once you are upset or psychologically activated, you have this feeling that you want to fight back. I call this false power syndrome. And it's when people get mad and angry, and they believe, and I think it's almost genetic, we believe that we are stronger and we want to fight back. Well, that is a dangerous feeling because you don't want to get into the wrestling ring with the dirty pig. So the best way to understand that is that feeling of wanting to fight back, which is false power, is dangerous. So you want to come up with a way and use what I call a observe and absorb fantasy defense strategy. And there are many different ones, and I encourage our viewers to pick their own. And that is to have this story in your head that guides you as the observer who's not going to be activated. And I'll just give you 3 of them, and I'll do them very quickly. We have them on my YouTube channel, the Spanish YouTube channel. But one of them is be Spock. And of course I can't do that, but no. Is Spock is to imagine that you have no emotions and everything is logical. So if you can actually pretend in your mind you don't have emotions and everything is logical, you are watching your narcissist try to upset you and you're not having a reaction. Another defense fantasy scenario is pretend the other person has a hypodermic needle and they are trying to stick you. And if they can get into your skin, you're sick and they got you. And so you're watching them almost in slow motion and you're looking at the hypodermic needle. Now that's of course the fantasy, but in reality, you're watching the narcissist try to activate you. And if you can disassociate and watch and understand that they're trying to get their needle on you, that's fine. And the last one, and there's many, I call it the psychology intern defense fantasy strategy, is you are pretending that you are working in a research project and you're wearing a white smock and you have your little notepad and your job is to just watch the narcissist. You're not allowed to interact with them and your job is to take information. So if you are observing and pretending that you are just watching this person and you're getting information and you stay focused on that defense strategy fantasy, it keeps you focused on your disassociation, you're observing, and it keeps you from being antagonized or absorbing. So whatever it takes for a person to come up with a pretend scenario that keeps them amused. Some of these defense fantasy strategies actually are amusing, and people will report that they felt, not only they felt like they were in control, but they felt it was almost funny how ridiculous the narcissist was acting when they didn't have the control over them anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Y es como, tenemos aquí, we have a visit here, my cat.
Oh,
but I keep telling the people on my channel about this, and this is great you're talking about this. ¿Se recuerdan que mucha gente me pregunta, es que cómo le hago para no conectar con el narcisista, ¿no? ¿Cómo le hago para que no me afecte? Pues este tema que él está mencionando, un poco de usar como la fantasía, de no tomárselo personal, realmente sirve muchísimo. O sea, porque no te enganchas con esa provocación, no estás ahí como dice él, en esta sensación de poder, de que le puedes contestar y ganarle, porque además ellos viven de eso, de crear conflicto, de crear problema, y lo van a seguir haciendo, aunque tú tengas razón, y aunque les hayas dicho algo súper acertado. Entonces, lo mejor es eso, imaginarse lo del Spock, imaginarse lo del doctor, ¿no? Y no involucrarse con esta situación. Creo que es una técnica que va a servir, o sea, muchísimo cuando ustedes se enfrenten con un narcisista en el trabajo, en la casa, en la pareja o en la familia. Siempre verlos como pues lo que son, unos enfermitos o algo que pues son como un holograma, ¿no? De la maldad realmente. So, before we end, can you tell us about your book and how it relates to the technique?
Even though the observed and absorbed technique is not mentioned in my human magnet syndrome book, the two are very much related. The human magnet syndrome, which you can get on Amazon or order from selfloverecovery.com, it explains why caretaking, loving, patient codependents always fall in love with narcissists. And it explains that pattern is not an accident. It happens because there is a matching of opposite dysfunctional personalities. And I won't go into that anymore because we have more videos on our, but if you understand the problem, which the book helps the readers accomplish, now the next step is what to do to disengage. It is very, very difficult to break away from a narcissist because narcissists and codependents are addicted to each other. They need each other to feel good. And if a codependent gets better because of help from someone like you or me, they become threatening to the narcissist. And then the narcissist wants to bring them back into the wrestling room. So if you can prepare for that, then the observe, don't absorb technique keeps you safe while you are in psychotherapy or you're working with a coach, because it won't solve the problem. It won't keep you from falling in love with narcissists. That's other work that I do, and maybe another interview that we can do in the future. But it keeps you strong while you are breaking this addiction, building up your self-love, building up your confidence, and finding out that you don't have to fight a fight that there's no way for you to win.
Aunque es muy infalible esta técnica de observa, no absorbas, ¿cómo le puede hacer uno para que sí funcione, para que sí, digamos, sí podamos hacerla? Porque es difícil, o sea, cuando uno está provocado, obviamente a todo estímulo corresponde una respuesta, uno provoca, uno responde. ¿Cómo le puedes uno, así como, cómo puede uno ya hacerlo de veras? O sea, engancharse y decir, sí, lo voy a hacer. O sea.
Codependents fall in love with narcissists not because there's something wrong with their thinking, not because they were born in a family where they learned that the only way to ever get someone to listen to you is you had to fight for it. But the problem is, if you were raised in a family where you had to fight or try to get a narcissist to love you, narcissists can never love you. And that is the limitation of the fight that the codependent has with the narcissist. But they believe they can win. And that's where the false power syndrome is so important. It's believing that you can control someone keeps a person in a relationship for years. My mom was married to my dad her whole life. She died a broken codependent. She kept thinking she can control him. So the reason the observe, don't absorb technique will fail is if you believe that this is just one of many ways you can control the narcissist. This technique doesn't control the narcissist. It only controls you.
Exactamente. Esta técnica evita que tú te enganches, pero no es que vas a controlar al narcisista. No es una técnica, ojo, para controlar a ningún narcisista. Como bien dice él, es una técnica para no conectar con su porquería. Bueno, pues fue un gusto tenerte acá otra vez, Ros. Ya tendremos algún otro capítulo pendiente del libro nuevo, de cualquier cosa. Siempre es interesante hablar contigo y siempre es bueno tener este feedback, esta, digamos, retroalimentación, ¿no? Para, pues, todo lo que se habla sobre el tema del narcisismo.
Thank you, Tabitha. Thank you very much. I always enjoy talking with you, and I look forward to our next discussion. And I think the next time I'm going to interview you. And I have many questions to ask you about some of what you do well. And I also want to hear more about this new book of yours. So best of luck to you, and let's do this again soon.
Ay, pues sí, muchas gracias y nos estamos viendo, amigos. Bueno, abajo van a estar los links de dónde pueden conseguir más información sobre esto, dónde pueden conseguir el libro de Ross, el que hablamos antes sobre el síndrome del humano, que les recomiendo, que es un libro muy, muy bueno. Ya lo he recomendado en varias ocasiones. Y bueno, pues estamos al habla. Pónganle like si les gusta el video, compártanlo si sienten que alguien puede llegar a necesitarlo.
And I agree in everything she said, but in English.
Ok, vale. Nos estamos viendo. Muchas gracias.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Whitey. Bye.